Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where you'll hear from industry leaders in science, technology, and innovation about the power of strategic storytelling. With decades of experience, our guests will share their own insights and real-world stories to help you avoid red light barriers and ignite green light solutions. From the Zoom room to the boardroom. In each episode, we'll corkscrew downward into the guests' personal experiences of challenge and success, highlighting strategies that turn complex ideas into clear, compelling storylines for stakeholders. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately to drive the vision of innovation with your team. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately that drive the vision of innovation with your team. Hi, everybody. I'm Cindy Skalicky, and welcome to another episode of Red Light, Green Light. I will be your host for this hour, and I've brought you another fantastic leader. Her name is Jessica Hilton. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's so wonderful to have you here. I've had such a great time getting to know you, and I want to share a couple lines with our audience of listeners about why we're talking together today. Everybody, Jess is a senior executive who brings over 30 years of experience leading in some of the world's most highly regulated industries like pharma, investment banking, and private equity. Jess has done a lot of speaking as well to stakeholders at conferences and other audiences, which is one of the reasons I brought her in today, because we'll tackle some of those themes. As most of you know, I'm a messaging geek and a message engineer, and I love learning from leaders like Jess how you have, managed some of the communication battles, or not battles, but challenges in the elevation toward the next level in leading. And so Jess is going to share some of her stories with us today. But first and foremost, just give us a sketch, Jess, of your trajectory and where you're calling from, and help us get to know you a bit.
Well, that's great. So, at the heart of it all, I will always remain a New Yorker,
Okay.
but I go Yankees.
Yes, fair enough.
I live in Massachusetts now, in the Boston area. Moved here 11 years ago, and I did something radical in 2014. I left an industry that I've known most of my life, which is finance, investment banking, private equity, and moved into pharma. The common theme, as you mentioned, is working in highly regulated environments, but the work and the nature of the work and the why of the work is very different.
Okay. Can
And
you say a little more about that? Like how do you see those things from the industries?
absolutely. So, industries like finance, it's very quantitative.
Mhm.
There's an element of whether it's savings, whether it's generating revenue, multiplying dividends. It's
Mhm.
all quantitative
Mhm.
and it's very important. The same applies in the pharma industry, but we're talking about patients' lives.
Mhm.
In the, well, let's call it life sciences industry because it extends beyond pharma. But my experience in pharma is about, what are we doing to provide medicines to our patients and save
Mhm.
lives.
Mhm.
So it's both are very meaningful,
Mhm.
but there's a lot to be said when you're dealing with and working with industry leaders, subject matter experts,
Yeah.
researchers, scientists that are building innovation to save a patient's life. So,
Mhm.
personally, for me, coming into this industry holds a lot of meaning for a
Mm.
lot of
Yeah,
reasons.
I love that. And I think from the work we've done working with, everybody from the startup sort of circles all the way through PE as well. There's a little bit of a common ground there because those financiers and the PE firms, they back the healthcare life
Yes.
sciences startups, obviously, but it's just a little distant from the patient, whereas in pharma, you're a little closer. It sure takes a long time, and that's one of the things I always have respected so much about leaders who choose that path. I mean, having, getting FDA approvals and in these regulated industries, it takes decades to get something to market, and you are usually much old, you're over 40 or 50 by the time you've learned enough to be able to push a product line or innovation through. So I find that to be a really interesting just insight or noticing, I guess, in terms of the leadership qualities people bring
Hmm.
to those places. So was there a hinge moment for you, Jess, for like a person or an experience that encouraged you to make that leap from one
Hmm.
industry to the other?
My mom, hands down.
Okay, that was an easy answer.
Oh yes, my
Okay,
mom.
how
She
so?
so my mom, before she retired, I'll put air quotes. She was in healthcare. She moved up the ranks, eventually moving into the C-suite within the healthcare industry, particularly on the clinical side. And she wrote a lot of programs, whether it was in neonatal care,
Mm,
hospice care.
mm,
But personally, my mom endured some health challenges,
okay.
particularly around cancer.
Mm,
I'll also call out my aunt because around the same time my mom was going through that battle, my aunt was also diagnosed. And
wow.
so it was a very pivotal, very important and life-changing moment for me.
Mhm,
I was still living in New York at the time. My mom had already moved to the New England area in New Hampshire,
mhm,
and although I enjoyed what I was doing, I loved my job. I loved the people that
mhm,
I was working with. I felt I needed to be closer, and
mhm,
so
sure.
I was very lucky and very fortunate to have and continue to have a great network of leaders.
Mhm,
And I remember reaching out, and I got the opportunity to not only relocate, from the New York area to Boston, but
mhm.
also switch industries 11 years ago.
Wow. Yeah,
And
that's great.
yes, yes. And for 11 years ago, I didn't even know what the term biotech meant.
Yeah, right. I love that you said that because that's so often the case where we don't even have the basics of, the minimal terminology, and yet here we go diving into the deep end of a new thing. Can we talk about that for a second? Because that's kind of a great place to pivot, or did I interrupt your thought?
No, it's actually it's a great pivot because being in this industry has continued to allow me to grow in other areas that I didn't think about, both professionally and personally. I
Okay.
really understood more around oncology because two very important members of my family, especially um, the woman who birthed me,
Right.
has experienced that,
Mhm.
and also being able to learn and partner and speak with um, experts in the field.
Mhm.
It just it grew an appreciation around the importance of why folks in the medical field, in the life sciences field, even in finance fields, why they do what they do. I
Okay.
think there's this level of passion, but also a level of compassion and empathy that
Mm,
comes with
that's great.
the need and desire to not only deliver a product, but also explain the meaningfulness behind why they're doing this. And
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Yep. So I consider myself, and I live I live by gratitude every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I consider myself very lucky because when I came in this industry, like I said, I didn't know what biotech
Yeah.
meant.
Right.
I know a lot about operations. I know a lot about finance. I know a lot about process improvement. I know a lot about working in global teams, but you couldn't tell me what biotech meant. Now I can talk about it.
Yes, that's a huge win. I just love that piece you said earlier, compassion and passion is sort of like an equation toward, holistic leadership in healthcare, maybe. I don't know. That's sort of the vision of a math equation that just popped into my mind. But that's a great way to use those words together because you're hitting on two different things: passion for the work and the expertise you might bring and the results, but compassion is that human element that everybody in healthcare tends to bring at a pretty high level. So I love that. Well, let's talk about this venture into this land of the unknown terminology, shall we? Because we've all been there. I know I have. I mean, um, when I first got started working with startup founders 10 years ago,
Yeah.
which was sort of something I stumbled into, there was so much terminology and the whole process of getting funding and angel investing and VCs and PEs. And like, I didn't know what any of these things were and what they meant. And there is a point at which I learned to be brave about asking quote unquote dumb questions, but learning by doing that and always having a
Yes.
curiosity. So tell us a little about the first, whatever, year or so in this new industry. What were your strategies, Jess, to learn some of these things without, um, I don't know, feeling that you might be losing credibility? Because this is a key problem that I
Oh.
encounter with clients, particularly women who are telling me, like, I'm in this new inner circle. Other people have been there longer than me. I don't
Hmm.
understand everything. How do I ask questions without feeling stupid? And not that that's what you felt, but just how did you do that?
It's a fascinating question. I think I'll start off by saying it's okay to ask questions.
Yeah, 100%.
Even if the response is, what do you mean you didn't know about blah 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay to ask questions. And
Yeah.
I think acknowledging that and
Mhm.
internalizing that and being comfortable with saying, you know what? I am going to ask this question, regardless
Mhm.
of the answer that I receive.
Mhm.
Being comfortable, I think that's number one. And also, number two, one of the things that I learned personally is the power of listening
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the power of not necessarily being silent, but still communicating without speaking.
Okay. Can you say more about that?
It's it's powerful when you take the time to give someone space to speak, convey information. In this context, asking questions
Mhm.
and getting the response to those questions and
Mhm.
listening.
Mhm.
And I find that I have found actually, I've learned a whole lot more listening versus speaking.
Mm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have in my career, I am usually the one with the last word.
Okay.
And I have learned through great mentors,
Mm.
some of whom I still, even when I don't want to get their advice, they
Give it anyway. It's all good.
well, the intentions are
Yeah.
always good,
Yes.
but hearing from mentors, it is okay not to have the last word. It is okay
Mhm.
not to be the smartest in the room,
Mhm.
and it is okay give people space to speak.
Mhm.
You don't always have to be the one to inject and say something.
Yeah. Jess, would you describe this just popped into my head. Would you describe yourself as more introverted or more extroverted?
I am an extrovert at heart.
Okay.
So
I
this
thought
is being quiet and listening. I will tell you, it is something I will never ever say in my lifetime I'm an expert. I will say that I've gotten better.
Okay, right. Well, partly the reason that I ask is the other day I was talking about this with one of my kids who's emerging from, kind of college to early professional life and is more introverted. And I was encouraging him to remember, even though you are more quiet and introverted potentially, there's still a good way to enter conversations with extroverts, and there will be a balance as you get into your professional life. And this is just a place of, you know, it's a challenge when you are quieter, you don't like or want or need to be at the center. How do you
Mhm,
still earn your credibility and exude that executive presence in a way that
mhm,
others can notice? Because, there's plenty of examples in history of, men and women who are quiet doers. There's lots of examples of people who've come before us and done enormous changes in history, right? With um, just that quality of quiet listening, but when someone speaks, they're going to say something important, right? So,
yes.
uh, Eleanor Roosevelt's coming to my mind as someone who
Yes.
did not want the spotlight and took it because she saw a need and wanted to act. So, yeah, I love that. Well, let's use that actually as a place of entry into, if you're open to speaking about it, like what's it like to be a female in an executive suite where a lot, I'm making an assumption, is it a lot of, is pharma kind of male dominated in any way, or are you,
Mm.
are there any differences that you see or challenges that you see as a female executive who's risen the ranks?
Interesting. Pharma has a very nice balance.
Okay.
In my opinion, in my experience of
Mhm.
ratio across genders. Um, when I was in finance with a heavy private equity, actually with a heavy focus of IT, excuse me, it was more male to
Mhm.
female dominant,
Mhm.
and I guess part of what I'm going to say is it's based on my experience,
Sure.
and also as an extrovert,
Mhm.
I feel when we're given these opportunities to lead and we're giving these opportunities to be in executive positions,
Mhm.
I also feel it is our duty to not
Right.
only ensure that we're building high performance teams, but there is also that element of diversity as well,
Mhm.
and
Right.
and, and fairness. I think more
Mhm.
the diversity and fairness. For me personally, it's important.
Mhm.
Um, and I've been privileged to, recruit and hire
Mm.
a diverse group of
Mm.
amazing people.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
And I feel this uh, wholeheartedly. It is up to us as leaders to ensure that we are equally providing opportunities
Right.
to everyone. Now, my experience as a woman leader um, did not come without challenges.
Sure. Sure.
At the same time, and I've mentioned it earlier, I've been very lucky to have great mentors,
Yes. Yes.
um, and some encouraged me. I'll share something personal. I
Sure.
didn't get my college degrees until I was in my 30s. I didn't go
Okay.
right after high school.
Okay. Okay.
Right after high school, and I went to a great high school, and we had something that was called a co-op program, where you worked at a company for a week. You went to school the other week, so it was alternate weeks of
Okay.
working in the corporate
Yep.
world and going to school. And my
Mhm.
grades in high school were great. And
Mhm.
so my first job was JP Morgan. It's actually how I got into
Oh
finance.
my goodness. How cool.
Yes.
Love
And
that.
dating myself here, we're talking about early 90s.
Oh, it's
So,
okay. I'm right there with you.
Hey, listeners, super quick station break question for you. Have you ordered your copy of my new best selling book, Red Light, Green Light? Check it out. Grab your copy today at onpoint-communications.com/book. And now back to the show.
and, through that experience, I learned about finance and I also dipped my toes into information technology.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, 30 years after the fact, these are two big cornerstones that I continue to bring in my
Mm,
career.
okay, I
The
like
element
that.
of finance, yes,
Mm,
and the element of technology, which is actually really, really cool. But I say this because after my experience at JP Morgan, I went to Merrill Lynch, and that was when I was given the opportunity in 1994. I'm really dating myself here to get into leadership. Merrill Lynch
okay.
was the first position where they entrusted me to lead teams.
Okay. Okay.
And my
Love it.
and what was really nice, my career grew from that. After Merrill Lynch, I went to Goldman Sachs, and
Okay.
that was during the time right before 9/11.
Okay.
After 9/11, I joined Bank of America, and
Mm-hmm.
then after that, I moved into private equity.
Okay.
And
Oh, we're not even to pharma yet. You've had a lot of years of really
oh yeah,
grooming that finance path. I love that. That's great. Okay.
and but all of these amazing roles, including the ones I'm in now, they've equipped me to not only learn and grow, but also provided me with the tools where I can mentor, inspire others. So
Yes.
what was really nice was I learned along the way.
Hmm.
And when I finally got my act together to go to college, I did my undergrad and master's back to back.
And what did you study? What was I was going to ask you, like, what was your like formal training in education? I'm always curious what people studied and what they
Ooh.
ended up doing. So you had you delayed that. And so I'm curious, what did you choose? Was it
Yeah,
business?
it yes, absolutely. It aligned with the work that I was and continue
Mhm.
to do. So I have a bachelor's in business management, and I have an MBA in global management,
Okay.
and I have certifications. I am a big fan of learning, and I'll never forget in one of the times that I was promoted, and I remember telling my boss at the time, I said, I never want to be the smartest person in the room.
Nice.
And I remember sharing that with one of my friends, and they said, really? I said, yes. It
Yeah.
takes, you never want to plateau.
Right. Right.
You
Amen to
always
that.
want to
Yes.
learn.
Yes.
And it's such a powerful, I remember the first time I said it, I had goosebumps and I was like, wow, that's a really powerful statement.
That is if you're feeling goosebumps. Yes.
Yeah, being
Yeah.
open and vulnerable to say,
Yeah.
I never
So
want to be the smart. And I mean that. I mean
yeah.
that sincerely.
Mhm. Yep. And I
And
heard one of my leaders who said that to me when I was really young, and I thought it kind of stopped me in my tracks. I almost remember where I was standing when she said that, and I had to take it in for the first time to figure out why she would say that. And
mhm.
because she was like an executive vice president at the ad agency, and I thought, well, why would she feel like that? Wouldn't you want to be the one in the room who's the smartest? And it's how we're kind of maybe, you know, that's how we would normally think, just in a competitive environment of sorts, I suppose, and reaching and always achieving. But yeah, I think
there
that's
is there is that. There is that. And when I think about my own career, um, I love collaborating with my
yeah,
peers.
yeah,
I'm big on team building. I'm big on collaboration. I will never sit here and say that um, everything I've learned, everything I've grown, what I've done in my career, I've done on my own. That is not the truth.
Right, right.
And
It
so,
takes a village. It's like raising kids, you know?
right? And
Well,
so,
I
so
love
I think, yeah, I think, part of what made me, or what continues to make me successful, and continue to execute and do really great things, is that power of not just being graceful and being collaborative, but being vulnerable and saying, I don't
mm,
want to be the smartest person in the
yeah.
room.
And
I
announcing it and
want to
feeling
learn.
safe to do, have like open to do that,
Yes.
that's huge. Jess, can I rewind for a second? I want to ask about a moment you mentioned when you were at Merrill Lynch and you had the first opportunity to lead a team. Because to me, I feel like that's a really critical, pivotal moment for leaders that they struggle with for obvious reasons, right? I mean, you're trained in something, you are great at something on your own, give or take, right? And now, ta-da, you have a team, and your job is now to drive different or additional KPIs and manage a number of human beings, right? People who come with their own um, insecurities, strengths, gaps, and habits. And that is just difficult. So we talk on this show about red lights and green lights, red lights being things that create risk or are barriers, and green lights being things that help us move forward and get us to moving forward. When you first got that announcement that you'd be leading a team, and as you think of our audience listening who might get that today, tomorrow, or next week, what are some of the initial barriers you knew were there, whether you felt excited or not? What are the barriers you knew were there, and then are there some that you did not know were there but made themselves known?
Um, that's interesting. I think my first thought was, are they gonna like me?
Mm,
Um, my
so
sp-
interesting. Yeah, but
yeah,
that was your first one. Are they going to like me? Yeah, we're
yeah,
all human.
we're all human, right?
Yeah.
And my second thought was, um, how are we going to work well together
Hmm.
and deliver? And one of the very first things I did, I met with my team one on one, just
Great.
to get to know, let's get to know each other.
Yeah.
Because I thought, and I still believe, having that human element and that
Hmm.
side, and understanding that, yes, we do have, a hierarchical structure.
Hmm.
We might work, we'll work in a matrixed organization,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, we're all here to get work done.
Right.
And so, how can we collectively work well together? Let us understand, any gaps. Let us
Right.
discuss any development plans. What are some conflicting
Hmm.
things? I mean, just having
Yeah.
those conversations
Sure.
up front, but also balancing the needs of your leadership. Let's
Yes.
not forget that.
Yes. It's hard. It's a balancing act, and the balance shifts every day, right? In terms of who might be in need of more attention, or what might be the need of the day, and how, you know, rallying the troops is a constant need. And as a leader who's responsible for, again, bottom line and results, or client relationships, or partner, relationships, this is a main, element of a lot of the work that we help leaders do, is become these encouragers, these inspirational speakers, these people who can figure out a storyline for the back end of the brand, because we need a name for this project. It's Project Purple, it's Orange Marmalade, it's whatever the project name is. And what does it signify? How can we motivate each other and be motivated by the goal, which is, kind of it's like being in a stage production. It's the crew
Mhm.
versus the on stage actors, singers, and actresses, right?
Yeah.
So, I love your reflection on, the relationship piece of that. That's huge. What about you, Jess, as far as your journey as a leader and speaker and a presenter? How have you continually managed to continue to grow in that area? And what has that felt like to you?
I've made a personal commitment recently, actually, to always invest in my career growth and development. This is in addition to the available resources,
Yeah.
that are offered,
Hmm.
um, and also um, receiving feedback.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I have learned. Um, I'm usually proactive in asking for feedback.
Hmm.
I will sometimes ask, how am I doing?
Mm.
Or I will sometimes, ask the question, is this clear? Do
Okay.
we have clear direction on what we're doing, where we're going,
Hmm.
how we're driving, and also, seeing the results of my work.
Yes. Oh, that's a huge indicator for sure. Hmm.
Yeah, and always connecting with, my mentors, connecting with leaders that are more versed or more
Hmm.
experienced, or
Hmm. Right.
always tapping into um, growth and development in many, many different ways. Reading great books.
Sure. Sure.
Um, so I think I learned as a child. Both of my parents are big educators.
Okay.
They've always and continue to instill in my siblings and I the power of education,
Love it. Sure.
and getting in education in many different ways, right? So it goes back to, I don't know, I guess it's a theme, not being the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
And I
Love it.
think what it does for me, it gives me that space. It extends my runway to want to learn more, to
Yep.
want to grow more, because how I learned how to lead 30 years ago, it's very different today.
Sure.
Very, very
Sure.
different.
Sure.
Um, leadership continues to evolve.
Yep.
Collaboration continues to evolve.
Mhm.
How we connect with one another,
Mhm.
um, whether it's virtual, like this conversation we're having today,
Mhm.
or in person.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I think, that power of being open, trying not to make assumptions, giving people the place to speak, also the power of listening.
Mhm.
These are just some of the many tools that
Mhm.
I continue to use in my ability to lead.
Yeah.
And I've been privileged to break glass ceilings
Yeah.
throughout my career. I've been very privileged to work with some amazing leaders.
Yeah.
I have great mentors.
Great. Love
Um,
it. So great.
but I think being open, there is power when you're not the smartest person in the room,
Mhm.
because what it does, you're telling people, I want to learn. You're
Yes.
telling people, I'm open to receiving, and maybe doing things differently.
And maybe being quote unquote wrong or, not
Yes.
complete in my thinking. And
Yeah.
that by virtue of being, by being open to others who are smarter and inviting them into the room, that in itself is nonverbal communication through action, right?
Yes.
And so it's not bodily nonverbal communication, but it's
Yeah.
decisions
Yeah.
being made. So a word I'm hearing from you throughout the episode is space and place. And I love this because, listeners, you're probably noticing Jess has a lovely cadence of speaking and gives space to thoughts and ideas. But I also wrote down this note that we had talked about earlier, Jess. So I would love for you to share what you mean by this phrase, there is enough of the pie for everyone, because I think it might be a good downbeat on some of the themes we've talked about today, if I'm remembering the way you talked about it earlier. What does that mean? There's enough of the pie for everyone? And how do you unpack that?
Yeah, so I think I just want to touch a little bit back to the not being the smartest person in the room. It's
Mhm.
not modesty. There is power
Oh
in
yeah.
in that statement, and
Yeah.
it kind of ties into there is enough in the pie for
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's many ways to slice and dice it, but I'll speak about what I mean by data digital, for example,
Oh
because
yeah.
that's very near and dear to
Yes.
me. And some of the common themes that we're hearing, and it's all across multiple industries, right? The power of AI,
Sure.
the ability to bring more automation into our day to day, whether it's in our professional, personal
Yep.
lives.
Right.
How can we become more efficient?
Mm-hmm.
How can we look at some of the mundane tasks and automate them?
Mm-hmm.
What
Right.
happens is there's this trepidation or concern or fear around, well, what are the risks if we do that?
Right. Sure.
And the thing about it is, I think at times it is okay and it is fine to acknowledge the risks, but I think we kind of do a disservice when there's too much focus on, if we don't try this, this will happen,
Right.
even in our personal lives.
Agree. Yep.
And
Agree.
I think, when I make the comment of there is enough in the pie, that's one of the analogies that I mean is, it's okay to try something new, because guess what, there is always something else
Mm-hmm.
to do.
Sure.
there
Sure.
is there is another strategy we haven't embarked on.
Right.
There is other innovation we haven't tapped into.
Yes. Yes.
So it's okay to think about and look into maybe leveraging AI, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, ChatGPT has helped me in some of my personal relationships. I'm not
Mm.
even going to lie. It has
Okay.
helped me,
Love it.
right? It's helped me
You heard
helped
it
me to
here first,
yeah,
folks.
helped me to like recraft and reframe.
Yes.
Because I'm
Yes.
like, okay, this is what I want to convey. All right, this is what I'm trying to say. Can you help me put it in a way
Yes.
that it's more
Nicer. Yeah, meaningful, nicer. That's my use of it. Like, can I be, I'm feeling frustrated, like with whatever, a situation, a teenager, whatever. How can I communicate this? I'm just saying, it's
yes,
a good reframer. There's a commercial about that I saw months
yes,
ago, like how can it was somebody in a cubicle in a workspace that used ChatGPT to reframe something kinder than the angry note they would have otherwise written.
yeah,
So,
and and for the record, I mean, yeah, it's a tool I use in my personal life sometimes. But if you think about productivity tools that are available,
mm-hmm.
your calendar,
Sure.
lists where you can
Yeah.
organize, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's okay to try something new. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to explore something different, which will free you up, because there is literally other things to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The creativity knows no bounds. It's like cooking, right? I mean, when you have
Yes,
a recipe or ingredients, you can do endless amounts of things with them. And sometimes it's
yes.
going to taste better than others. And the trick is finding the right balance of those ingredients.
Hey listeners, super quick station break question for you. Have you ordered your copy of my new best-selling book, Red Light, Green Light? Check it out. Grab your copy today at onpoint-communications.com/book. And now back to the show.
Before I forget to ask this, Jess, can you, you and I have talked about this term data digital. Is that, how do you kind of define that term? Is it in the same family of, like automation and AI? And what is that, putting those two words together, what does that mean to you?
Oh, it's a compilation of everything you said and more.
Okay.
Um, you know, dating myself again, I remember the days of I'll go a little further back when the tech startup boom
Yep.
occurred in
Yep.
Silicon Valley.
Yep.
And then cloud computing. These are like key words that were very key and important. They still
Hmm.
resonate today.
Yeah.
Um,
Hot button words, not hot button, but hot, new terminology. Hmm.
big data was another one.
Hmm.
But all of that is still relevant today. And when we think about the direction of where we're going, a lot of industries they are investing
Hmm.
in more in data digital,
Hmm.
but doing it in a safe way, doing it in a diligent way.
Right.
Um, most my the majority of my career has always been in regulated environments, you
Hmm.
know,
Right. Right.
where we're governed by regulatory agencies.
Right.
And so we have to be thoughtful and
Hmm.
ensuring that our data is not compromised.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think there are opportunities to leverage these great tools when they're done in a thoughtful way
Right.
that will enable us to be efficient, that
Hmm.
will enable us to accelerate, that will enable us to optimize.
Right.
And
Right.
so it has always been a passion of mine, again, from the time I was in high school,
Hmm.
learning about computing,
Yep.
working in industries where I was able to flex and
Hmm.
learn and build and grow my skills.
Sure.
And it's something that I've been, very blessed to continue to
Yeah.
do in present times. And when we think about how technology has advanced,
Hmm.
it's accelerating.
Yes, it's faster change, not just change. It's just faster, more frequent change, requiring
Hmm.
more and more versatility, adaptability, agility.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to think through the needs of humans to adapt to the speed of technology and change. And um, and that's just a whole separate episode, right? If we,
Oh yeah,
um,
there could be a panel. Think
oh
of
my gosh,
so many
right.
great leaders.
Absolutely. Well, and I think what I like about our conversation today has the human element is so important for leading and even in a highly regulated, industry or any industry that AI has not yet cracked the code on how to be authentically human and vulnerable to the degree that a human can. And I don't think that'll ever happen. And it really makes me feel excited about the skills we teach, which are to like prioritize those and help to remind people of the connective power of humans who are working on these kinds of problems in the world. But, leading a team is about heart to heart conversations and eyeball to eyeball in inventory when you first become the leader about who are you, what are you interested in, what is important to you, what drives you, what motivates you, how would you like me to give you feedback, what are some things that I can learn about you to accelerate our ability to work and collaborate together. And those are powerful conversations. You can get those ideas from AI, but it can't replace the conversation,
No, absolutely not.
intimacy, right? Well,
Absolutely.
Jess, as we land the plane on our episode and time together today, I wonder if you'd like to share about a mentor who has particularly been pivotal for you and what that person said or did that has been a lasting impact on you, right? Maybe you knew it at the time, but maybe you didn't. And this
Mm.
is always fun to explore because we are all always mentoring others whether we know it or not. We are being examples, good or bad, right? And so it's just nice to see how others have affected you. Do you have something in mind already?
Yeah, I gotten a little emotional because I need to call out my mom
Oh, okay.
again.
Mm.
And so my mother, very briefly, my mother came to the US in the 60s. She and my
Okay.
dad came in the 60s and very well educated,
Mm-hmm.
still educated to this day,
Mm-hmm.
always encouraged education, grow. A lot of the uh, how I lead, how I'm open to feedback, growing, learning. It's from my mom. As a kid, she would always encourage us to read books and drink water. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to do that. We wanted junk food. We didn't want to read. We wanted to play outside. And
Read books and drink water, people.
yeah,
Okay.
and my mom was always in the summertime. We had to write book reports before we can go play. And I remember not wanting to do that, but these are elements, along with so many others, that I am so grateful for because it is with her encouragement, and we talk very regularly.
Right.
In present times, we're always talking about strategy.
Mm-hmm. How
My
fun.
mom again was a C-level executive. We're always
Yes.
talking about strategy.
Yes.
We're always talking about staying tuned with what's going on in the industry, and think
Sure.
about what that means in our current, future, past roles. So she was and continues to be a great mentor. She will still educate me. Even when I know the answer, she
Yeah,
will. Yeah, and I think, my mom, mothers are nurturers at heart, you know?
totally. Yes.
And so I will always be her kid. I don't
Yep.
mind.
Yeah. You're always
And
a mother once a mother, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and even when, I'll reflect back and I'm like, yeah, mom did say that. That was great
Mhm.
advice. and
Mhm.
and so I lean on her a lot, and I'm so grateful. I'm
That's
grateful that she's
amazing.
still here too.
Well,
Thank you,
mom,
mom.
shout out to mom, right? I think that's fantastic. I'd love to meet your mom.
Yeah.
For those just do you have any quick advice for people who are about to become leaders of teams? Like, what would you tell someone on your team or any team who's listening and it's like, you know what, I'm feeling just unprepared or just there's a lot of unknown in front of me. What is something you've learned over the years that you'd impart upon someone taking on that new role as a leader?
I would say trust yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you have there has to be an element of self-awareness when
Mm.
you lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, and be open to want to learn, continue to educate and invest, whether it's through the company that you work for and yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Never stop learning, because leadership is not black and white. It is a
Yeah.
lot of gray.
Ooh,
uh,
that's good. I like that.
one of the core, I've always said, if I get a PhD, it would be around organizational behavior.
Okay.
I enjoyed learning that when I was doing my master's degree, and they talk about the elements of high performance teams,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it because you don't want to. It's great if you have a lot of doers, but the elements of a high performance teams give you the ability to innovate when you
Mm-hmm.
have different
Yeah.
levels of skill sets, expertise,
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. And so I say all that because learn from the people that you are leading.
Mm-hmm.
Grow together, um, and
I
lead together, but
love that.
also, um, yeah, be open to learning, and don't be the smartest person in the
I
room.
know that's the theme, I think, for today. I think that's so great. And I think it's a necessary reminder in a world where we're expected to have a lot of the answers at our fingertips. But that ability to feel okay, not knowing, it's a constant
Yeah, because
feeling. Mhm.
you'll be amazed. You will learn from your team, just like they're learning from you as a leader. You
Yeah.
will learn from your team and you grow together. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of succession planning.
Mhm.
I've been privileged to do it.
Yep.
And so I think, but it starts with you as a
Mhm.
leader.
Mhm. Yep.
Know thyself. Even
Yeah.
when you don't know, have a great sense of self, because
Yes.
then you're comfortable in saying, I don't want
Mhm.
to be the smartest person in the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
You're comfortable
Yeah.
in being that leader where you can
Mhm.
live, you can grow and build those high
Yeah.
performance teams to do amazing things.
Yeah. I love it. Jess, this was awesome. I knew it would be. We covered so much ground from, way back when to present day to thinking through what's happening now in the industry and some of the trends coming. We even got your mom in there a couple of times, which is great. Thanks for joining me today. Hope this was fun for you. It was definitely fun for me.
There was. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Red Light, Green Light with Jess Hilton. And you can reach her, follow her, find her at Jessica Hilton at LinkedIn if you'd like to reach out and connect and give her a high five for sharing her wisdom. And please like and share this episode to your heart's content. You can find us every Friday dropping new episodes with new awesome leaders sharing their stories, their strategic stories of leading. And we are going to be back next week with a new one. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And remember, between now and then, get out there, find an audience, and figure out a way to get them from the red light of risk to the green light of go and nail it. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.